Hello, Kirk McDowell with Contribution Selling here. Hope you're doing great. Today I'm answering the question, what are the objectives of sales training? Okay, so what are the objectives of sales training? So obviously, most simply is to sales training, the number one objective is to have you be effective and efficient and effective and successful in the world of selling, right? So depending on what you're selling, that might look different. The objective might be different. There are different types of selling environments. Just to break that down a little bit, I'll create some of the biggest continuums, right? So selling to people versus selling to businesses, B2C and B2B, right? Very different environment. Selling in a home versus selling in a business, going to someone's business and sell, or going to someone's home versus people come into your store. Very different environments. Selling capital equipment versus selling a monthly service. Very different environment. Selling a commodity, like if you're selling a copier machine, people understand they need a copier and they're trying to choose which one. If you're selling like recruiting services, maybe a company doesn't really understand why they might need a recruiting service, so they need to be educated. So one environment is a commodity environment. I know I need that, which is the best one. I don't know that I need that. Why do I need that? Again, very different spaces. Selling. So anyway, I think you get the feel, right? Different selling environments require different skill sets, which would then probably inform the objective of the sales training, right? Now, having said all that, there's some basic movements in selling, right? Actually going to start before selling. There's marketing. Marketing is, your business card, your brochure, how you speak about your product, how you articulate and speak about your product, who you are approaching about your product or service, supportive, website, that kind of thing. That's all marketing. It kind of makes a difference because you have to appreciate your you have to understand what your marketing is designed to do, because that's where you're coming in from, right? If the marketing talks about you being your product or service being a market leader, then you need to show up as a market leader. If your marketing is showing you as the upstart new guy, David versus Goliath, you need to kind of show up in that spirit. So it's good to understand the tone or the direction of your marketing, because that's the context or the subtext from which people will perceive you. So it's going to color what people expect of you and how all that goes. So it's good to understand kind of what your position is in the marketplace, and that's kind of more of the domain of marketing. Right after marketing is like the first approach, prospecting, or that discovery. Well, really prospecting, right? So how do you get people to talk to about your service? So, I started off in the 80s in the copier business in New Orleans, before cell phones and computers, by the way, before fax machines even. So you may not know what a fax machine is. Anyway, so it was like the early days, ancient times, almost prehistory. And prospecting was done by getting out of your car, going to the top of a 50-story high-rise building, going to every office and saying something like, hey, I'm going to be, next door showing a copier on Thursday. Can I just pop in and show it to you real quick? And I would do that over 100 times a day and get 3 or 4 people to say yes, and kaboom, there we go, right? So it's not really what I'd recommend at this time. But anyway, that's an example of prospecting, right? Literally going out and talking to people. Another example of prospecting is like calling people and talking to them. Hey, got this thing, you may have this problem, are we a good match? Do you want to get together and talk? So that's prospecting, right? So that's the first phase. And the purpose of prospecting is really get in front of the customer, either on the phone. Oh, prospecting is also, social media and email and that kind of stuff, right? Connecting with people to get a conversation started, right? And then there's presenting, right? Some sales environments take several presentations. Some are designed to do business or don't do business in a single presentation. Just depends on the product or service and the environment that you're selling into. But then there's presentation, right, which is uncovering what's going on over there with your person, right? What are they dealing with? What's their pain? What's important to them? What have they tried? How much is this problem costing them? It's diagnostic, right? It's diagnostic in nature, right? Well, it's partially diagnostic. It's making that first connection, sitting down in front of someone, getting on the phone with someone, and that's kind of a thing. Like, you weren't there and then you are there, right? A lot of people walk into a room or come into a meeting or start a call or show up in front of somebody and just start rocking and rolling. But however, one thing people fail to appreciate is that you are an interruption. Like, when you call someone or you show up at someone's office, they were doing something, or they were thinking something, or they specifically were not doing something, right? And that's the space they were in. And then you showed up, right? It's a different space. You want to give some people need a minute to adjust, complete something, get their thoughts together, that sort of thing. So there's that little, phase, the very opening, right? Creating credibility and trust and safety. It's important that the person that you're speaking to knows you, likes you, and trusts you as quickly as possible. People are not going to do business with you if they don't feel like they know you, and they don't feel like they trust you, and they don't feel like they like you. They're just not going to do business with you. They will if they have to, but they're going to try not to, right? Which is not where you want to be. So there's the first part, right? Know, like, and trust, credibility, safety, all that kind of stuff, right? Then you're getting into the diagnostic part. What's the pain? What's the problem? What did you see? What has me be here? Like, why did you say yes to me being here today or having this conversation with you? What are you hoping to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet? What have you been trying to do that you haven't done? What's not working in your business? What's not working in your life? What's the most painful aspect of that? How long has that been going on for you? What is that like for you? How much does that cost you? What are the things that you've tried to resolve it? Why is now the time and not last year or next year? Like, why do you want to resolve this? All that kind of stuff, right? And the context or the thinking behind this is super important, right? Most sales trainings are manipulative in nature, right? What you're doing is literally having a conversation with people and trying to have them not notice that you're gathering information and intelligence to then use against them to get them to do something that they may not want to do or they may not want to do now, right? That's kind of how selling usually is created. Now, sales training programs won't tell you that because it doesn't sound good, right? But if you look at it, you can clearly see the whole design of the thing is to get people to do something they don't want to do, or to do it quickly, or do it now, or whatever. I don't recommend that, by the way. I find that is an aging paradigm. It's a way of thinking about business and selling that's really on its way out and is losing effectiveness very quickly. People understand when they're being manipulated, and people can feel you and experience you and appreciate you when you're actually there for them, when you're actually there to solve a problem, like get to the bottom of something, alleviate pain, bring a solution, that kind of thing. So that's the presentation part, right? You're making connection, you're creating safety and credibility, and you're the real deal, and you're creating an opportunity for them to know, like, and trust you. You're professionally, incisively, elegantly, efficiently getting to the source of the problem, getting the magnitude of it, understanding what they've tried, what they're dealing with, what their experience is, where they'd like to be that they're not, all that kind of stuff, right? So at some point in there, if you're any good at what you're doing, right, which is kind of a prerequisite, by the way, I forgot to mention that, sales training has nothing to do with how good you are at what you do. Usually, many of us are selling, and then we got to perform, right? So you want to be a world-class performer. I work with a lot of coaches and business consultants, so everything I stand for and train is predicated on they are the real deal and they have an actual solution to an actual problem. So assuming that, right? Then you're doing the diagnostic part. You're understanding the magnitude and the pain and the what they've tried and their experience. And at some point, if you're the real deal and you know what you're doing, you're going to have like a solution, like, oh my gosh, I see it. I've got something for you, right? I understand what you're dealing with. I've taken the time. Let me read this back to you, and you lay it out for them. Okay, here's what I saw, and here's the painful part, and you tried this, that, and the other, and it costs this much, and boom, 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 right? Yeah, that's it. Okay, good. I have a solution for you. Really? Yeah. Do you want to hear it? Yeah, I do. Boom. Really critical step, right? You've listened, you've been professional, they know, like, and trust you, you've been credible, you've been professional, you've been the real deal, and you've read back to them essentially what they've said to you, so they appreciate that you're a professional, you've been listening and taking notes, and you got them dialed in, and now you've got something to say. Boom, lay it on them, let it rip. When you say, hey, I got something for you, can I share it? And they say yes, you've now got an opening as wide as a Mack truck to create and articulate who you are and why you're there, and what you have for them, the solution, right? And then you let them have it. Okay, and I don't recommend fancy closes. Really, you let them have it, and you really share, and it's heartfelt, and it's got integrity, and it's inspired, and you share the solution. Like, would you like to get started? What do you think? Does that sound like what you're looking for? Does that seem like it would solve the problem that we're talking about? Would that alleviate the pain that you're dealing with? Like, would this solve this problem for you? Yeah, great. Would you like to get started? No? Okay, good. What are you thinking, right? What else do you need to know? And what else, what would you like me to do? And so I'm not going to get into the whole close thing, right? We're running out of time. But it kind of breaks down like what the objective of sales training would be. By the way, I've got some free training for you. ContributionSelling.com. The URL is right there in the title and the description. Very valuable, very efficient, elegant. It will make a massive difference for you. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this has been valuable. Kirk McDowell, ContributionSelling.com.